Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here at Earth and Sky in magical 2021. Second week, we've made it. We're getting closer and closer into 2021
Second
now.
week.
Didn't you watch last Sunday's video on the 3rd, 4th, whatever that Sunday was?
Last Sunday?
Yeah, it was
That was
really good.
the 4th?
If you haven't seen last week's, you should have seen last week's. So today,
Right. She's right.
welcome to
Hi,
midway
I'm back.
into January of 2021.
Midway into January 2020. Okay.
I think
I'm
we're
already
rushing
tired.
right into that next new year. So today,
It's early today.
we're going to be talking, as we get into this a little bit, football and crystals.
'Cause
And what they have to do with each other.
football is awesome. No. And crystals are actually pretty cool. But football is like,
And we can all have our own differences of opinions, which is one of the things we're going to get into here. We are all so much more alike than we are different, which is kind of at the heart of what we're going to be talking about. But at the same time that we're so different, our needs, our desires, our wants, our drives, they all have echoes of the same underlying needs. This last year was really a very poignant reminder, in my opinion, of the connection that so many of us seek with each other. Yet we all define and we decorate it by our passions in so many unique ways, which is what makes us different from each other. The way we decorate ourselves with that exterior of what we find joy in, and what we define it by, of what we seek for fulfillment.
wait. We decorate our exterior
Of our lives.
of our lives. The exterior, oh, not ourselves.
Right.
Our lives.
Our lives.
Okay, with what?
Metaphorically speaking.
Okay, well, yeah, I didn't think we were walking around with Christmas trees.
Some people do. Have you seen an ugly sweater contest?
You know they call it an ugly sweater contest for a reason, right?
But truly,
No,
it's-
so we decorate.
and we define and we decorate ourselves by what our passions are. And and I say that because a lot of times what people see when we talk or when we describe ourselves, when somebody
Okay.
says, what are you interested in? What do you like? Who
Right.
are you?
Yeah.
We define ourselves by, say maybe you're a big football fan
Yeah.
and, you like your
That's true.
specific
Yeah.
team and you have, and then we
Packers
actually
or
decorate ourselves often with that. We'll, wear
Oh,
the
that's true.
Packers jersey
Okay.
or the
Oh.
state jersey or whatever it is.
Now I'm getting it. Okay.
And we show
okay.
that on the outside of us
Yeah.
as well as what's going on in here and in here with you're decorating yourself with Roth and
No.
Associates. Exactly. Yep. And we find so many ways that we define ourselves on many levels, and we decorate ourselves on the outside with it, and not just physically though. It's not always something that we're wearing
No,
in
of course.
attire.
Yeah, right.
But it is the way we give our perception of the way other people are seeing us. And it's the way that we want sometimes others to see us. It's
Okay.
that appearance that we're showing. And oftentimes we describe who we are, and we kind of almost get lost at times in thinking we really are
Those
those
things.
decorative appearances. But if you're taking this into an analogy of, let's say, a house, this is going to kind of just pulling
Okay.
this in from spirit here.
Okay.
So
all
right
yeah.
along with
Let's
me for a
run with
moment.
this. Let's run with this. I like
So
it.
you can take a house, let's say a model home place. And
Okay.
so you have a model home and you have 5 of these model homes. They're in Phoenix, so they're all pretty much exactly alike, even though there are little differences. We'll say they're pretty much all alike.
Tiny little differences.
If you haven't been to Phoenix, you may not understand.
Otherwise, you think that's funny.
And so there's going to be a decorator that comes in, and 5 different families move into these places,
Okay.
and they design the houses, they decorate them in their own styles, which
Yeah.
can be very different. Someone does Moroccan, and someone else has a classic Italian fusion. Victorian for one of them. So you have 5 different, one of them is modern and very,
Yeah, that's when I'd be in.
and so we have 5 different designs.
Right, okay.
Yet the house, they look so different, but the house itself, the structure is the same. And the reason these families want to be in the house is they want safety. They want a place where they can rest. They want a place where they can play. They want a place where they can have connection with their loved ones.
Where
they
their
can
family is safe.
bring family and friends and loved ones.
Yeah, place
and
to be together.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Safety,
yeah.
warmth, love, connection.
Of course.
The heart of the home, a lot of times we talk about. And that can be built within any of those houses. And the structure of the house, the foundation it's built on, the walls, the 2x4s, all of the things that make the house within the core essence of it is all the same with all of them.
The electrical, the plumbing, the kitchen all has a sink and it all has a fridge and they all have washers and dryers and they all have the same stuff.
Right. And that's how we are as people. So we here in this room.
We all have the same
and
stuff.
And those that are in Afghanistan and those that are in Israel and those that are in Canada and wherever we are in the world, we're all people. We're all humans having this human experience. And at our core, our needs are the same. Our wants, our desires, our values.
Well, even physically, that's one of the things I've always thought that I really wish people could understand is the skin level is, like a quarter of an inch, maybe a half inch. If you take that off, that's it. We are exactly the same from there down.
And yet the way we design and we decorate ourselves causes so much controversy sometimes. When you bring up the skin, sometimes that causes so much controversy.
Yes.
Sometimes there are people in one generation that will criticize people in a different generation saying, how can they look like that? What are they thinking?
Y.
Every generation goes through this and it creates this us versus them mentality.
Separation.
And that separation is what we're all running from.
Yeah.
And I think people create that separation because they're wanting to feel the camaraderie of feeling like they're part of a whole. They're part of a team. They want the connection and that feeling of, I have these people with me. I have this connection. And that at the core of that is where we're all seeking love. We're all seeking connection. We're all seeking to be able to feel like we have others on our team.
Now, can we back up for just a second? Now, when you were talking about the decorating and stuff, when people decorate, who they want to be either seen as or what they're the things that they are passionate about are the things they use for decorating, right?
Yes.
Now, so if those are the things they're passionate about, I mean, those are the things that we can all kind of get behind together, right? I mean, those are the things that make us equal. Those are the things that we can use to focus on that aren't different than the other people.
Sometimes we see them as that. Yeah, sometimes we see those as those are the people that are like us that we want to connect with.
Right,
so if there's somebody that really has a click, so you're wanting to say with the house decorating specifically.
Well, no, I was just when you were I was just thinking about when you were saying when you were talking about the decorating yourself. I was just to me that's like when you talk about people's football teams and stuff. The football teams that people like. Now we don't really do football or sports like per se. But we were watching a thing one time where a gentleman was talking about.
You going to steal my story?
No.
That I'm leading into?
Oh, I'm sorry. I might be.
So I think you are.
Oh, okay. Let her tell it.
But so I had another thought I was going to run with that I thought you were leading towards first with that. But it's very. I'll just go on to this part now.
All right.
That's
I'm
fine.
sorry.
So this point that we were thinking about with the way we design and we decorate ourselves, sometimes we get caught up in judging people by what we think of with what you see on the exterior.
Yeah.
People will look at one person's house and judge it feeling like, oh, that's not what I would like. So I probably don't like that person. And
why would they have desert landscaping? Why wouldn't you have grass? Or why would you have grass? Why wouldn't you have desert landscaping?
And they may miss out on fantastic relationships because they judge the surface level of things and they miss the depth of the connection. Or if you're not even interested in that connection, there are big aspects of life that can be missed when they send negativity towards one group versus another group because they are creating an us versus them kind of a feeling and forgetting how similar truly we all are at the core of it. But what really sparked this thought for today's Life Talk was when we were watching the current Rose Bowl parade. It wasn't really a parade this year because everything has been looking different for 2020, but it was really a great look back as we were seeing what the Rose Bowl meant to different people.
And the evolution of it, and the way like the floats have evolved, and the different groups of people that were all, because it's such a large scale thing that there's all the Feeding America. Feeding America.
Their goal was to raise $2 million for that today.
But they've been part of the Rose Bowl parade for a really long time, and there's all these other groups like that, that really get in during these things, and so they all have these really rich histories. And so today they were talking about all the rich history and variances of floats and companies that were part of it and stuff. That was really interesting.
It was, and what really caught my attention was somebody who might at times feel like somebody that was somewhat different from me on the exterior, if I'm thinking just about what his big passions were.
Right.
And an older announcer got up on the screen. He's a sports announcer, and he started talking about the Rose Bowl, the football game of the Rose Bowl, which is usually after the parade.
Rose Bowl football game.
And so he was saying that he's always loved it since he was a young kid. He loved it. He loved to watch the game. He had such a passion. And he talked about when he was 11 years old, and it was so memorable to him. Yeah. He was in his family's home, and his team that he was so excited about had been undefeated for the whole season. And they were going to the Rose Bowl. And if they won the Rose Bowl, they were going to be in the championship Hall of Fame, something or other. Sorry, I don't know exactly. But he was so excited about it, and they lost the game.
And they did lose the game.
He was so crushed.
One point.
And so he got up, this young 11-year-old boy, he ran away from the television, and he ran up the stairs and sat in the stairwell and cried. He was so passionate and so sad. And so at the very first thought of that, I had two different reactions at the same time within myself. I was captivated by his passion. I was captivated by his love of the game that I don't personally share, but it intrigued me because I saw how much he really cared so genuinely at the core of his heart, and how much it all seemed to represent to him, all that it seemed to represent to him. And at the same time, I'm not really a sports person, so I didn't really understand the emotional response to it in myself. But listening to him, I could almost enjoy watching a game with the enthusiasm and the passion that he felt as he described it. And it really got me thinking about how so many of us are so similar in what we are, what we want, what we're seeking in life, yet we create these different illusions of separation based on what our passions are. Sometimes we cling to what we want within ourselves. And I think that a lot of people have a love for different sports because they love the camaraderie of the team, and they like to root for somebody that they want to see win, and they have an instant kinship with other sports fans of the same team, and they have this sense of connection through the game, through themselves, and through the other people that are involved. And there are so many other ways that people seek that same kind of connection. For some people, instead of it being sports, they're all about family, and they are always right on top of wanting to connect with loved ones. And when it's their blood family, it means more than anything just to have that connection. And there's so many different ways. For others, it's a sense of community, where they are seeking that connection by being involved in the community in which they live. And their
church or
church community, absolutely. That's another big one.
In high school, people
the cliques.
The cliques in the high school, and then they hold on to those way late in life. They follow those. That was they talk about them being the best years.
Because of the sense of connection, I think.
And I think so. I think that's exactly right. I think once you go out and you're in the business world and all of that, you're not surrounded by all of the people. You're not put in that mix where you just are sitting together and you can just be yourself with these people. And people, I think, are really afraid to do that. And so those are those moments that people make those connections and they want to hold on to them forever.
And I think that there's a lot that happens as people grow up. I'm glad you said that about growing up in schools and things and that connection. As kids, people often feel that instant connection with other kids.
Oh,
And
yeah.
they're always trying to like seek other people, you know, some more or less than others, depending on their introverted or extroverted.
But most
that
kids
sense of
can walk
connection.
up to another kid and just be like, "Hi, how are you? What's going on?"
And so then we kind of are taught these unintended rules, I think, as we grow up, where people say,
Yeah.
you really need to like not talk to this person, or don't tell them how you really feel about that, or let's just back off of this. Maybe you shouldn't tell people about your hobbies.
Yeah.
If you like art, someone might not like what you do, so don't share it with them. And we
Yeah.
find all these ways that we sever those connections,
And we
and
almost
we're
hide.
craving that.
Yeah, we're hiding because we're not sure if everybody's
fear
gonna
of judgment.
Yeah, we're not sure if everybody would be okay with that idea. And,
Will they accept me or
Yeah,
will they not
yeah,
accept me? I don't
yeah.
want to be on the wrong team where they're all together and then it's
yeah, I'm on
you
the
know,
outside.
And there's a lot of fear
Yeah,
that
yeah,
comes within
absolutely.
that because connection is such a vital part of the soul.
Mhm.
And I think that it really got me thinking about people all over the world and what we're passionate about. And there's so many different paths that people take, even though at the core we're all seeking connection, safety, harmony, love, you know, those vital aspects. For me personally, I love my crystals and I love working with them, although my mom has frequently asked me if I would like her to please put my crystals in a box if they're in the way. She can just clear them all out.
Put your rocks in a box.
Yes, yeah, that's the phrase. Can I put your rocks in a box for you? Maybe
And it's
move them
like,
out of
no.
here. Because
don't-
it's not her. It's not
She
her passion.
she doesn't think they're that important.
She doesn't understand my enthusiasm and connection with the natural world, and she has incredible passions of her own as well.
Of course.
She is amazing at finding beautiful treasures in stores. She loved the feeling of the rush of adrenaline as she would jump out of planes and parachute down to the ground. And in the same vein, I can share some of that passion in that I love ziplining. I love to jump backwards off a platform, spin it, be spun as fast as I possibly can, fly upside down, whizzing through the trees. Some of you watching this may think that sounds amazing, while others of you gasp and can't imagine wanting to do that personally. Some people find great joy in a book while being just cozy up under a blanket, and that might sound like the best passion and the greatest day to just be comfortable and cozy inside. Each of these sound like different things, but we're all seeking the same thing by doing those.
Yeah.
We're seeking connection, that feeling of being alive, that feeling of safety, that camaraderie of knowing that you're not alone in this world. We're all seeking a way of wanting to know, how does my life matter? Will I make an impact? And for some people, that question can be answered by wanting to make an impact on those that are closest to you. If you raise your kids well, that may be enough and you feel fulfilled and you're happy and that's all you wanted in this world. Or maybe just having a good relationship with your spouse provides enough meaning for you.
Yeah.
For others, it's wanting to help the whole world or to reach out and
Yeah.
expand globally and impact people's lives.
Yeah, well, that's all, and then having an impact, I mean, there's the large impacts like those, but there's also like the small impacts that you can do, and like, I always think, so, let me back up. So I think when people are kids, you spend your world being kind of controlled, you kind of have your whole world bound around you.
Mm-hmm.
And in those, you want to rebel and you want to fight against, those people that are holding you down and telling you what to do and, where to live and how to live and what to eat and, but the way you get through those days is you learn to find the commonality in your family that you live with. You get to find, you find those things where you can look past the fact that they make you do all of these things you don't want to do. You learn to look past all of those things. And I think that's as we get older, and especially in today's society, I think that tendency to just react in a way of, if you say something or do something that I don't like, is it's so easy to just immediately jump to that.
Online,
And
especially.
especially online, yes, yeah, and focusing on that. But I think, like you said, most people, I think that if you learn just to let that go, and just, like if you're talking to somebody online and you ask them, like, so what do you enjoy? What do you do? Instead of fighting with them on a specific topic or whatever, just find out about the person. Find something
for who they are.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where you can find that you can find the connection. And if you change those topics enough times, when you start talking to people and you start getting used to, instead of immediately arguing a point with them, but trying to find out who they are, what's important to them, I think we could really start finding our way back to a point where we really could make an enormous difference when people are starting to go, oh, well, okay, this is something we disagree on. And the natural reaction starting to become, let's not fight over that. Let's find an area that we can actually talk about that isn't a fight.
And how do we complement each other?
Yeah, exactly.
Because one goal and one person's passion is not better or less than another person's.
Absolutely, absolutely.
It's those unique things that make us who we are, that allow us to work better together in the world to create a diverse world.
Yeah, yeah. And that's what, and that's where I think I think it's been really relatively easy, but I think we've all been pushed to the idea of, like, we have the mentality of, like, the trolls on the internet, but they are there to push the world and to just argue and fight. And I think we have allowed ourselves to be kind of guided to an area where that is our initial first reaction.
Right.
Our first reaction is fight first, and then you go, oh, and I'm pretty sure almost everybody out there has gone, that's it, I wish you would just shut up and da-da-da-da, and you say something, and then later you go, why did I let that get to me? Why did I need to say that?
How did I get pulled in?
Yeah, how did I get pulled in? And that's where that, if it wasn't around every corner, and that wasn't our first reaction to everything, as a society, I think that could make that huge impact. And the impact starts with each person starting to do that.
And sometimes it's better just to think and pause and accept. First, and accepting somebody else for who they are and for what they think and for what they believe, even if it's entirely different from your own beliefs, that's still a good thing to accept them. And no, that doesn't mean you have to change who you are or what you think or what you look like, but you can accept them and then find that common ground and find those ways that you're similar, and know that the undercurrent of all of it is what binds us together.
Well, and even in that, even in what we argue about, if you get rid of the details and you brush the details away, you can usually find common ground even in that argument. So there was one, I was reading a thing, or somebody had posted, of course, it's a meme, and they always, of course, are they're boiling it down to the most basic to try to make a point, you know what I mean? And so it was something like, if 1 in 10,000 people die from COVID, that's enough to shut down the country. If there's 1 in 10,000 false votes or whatever, isn't that enough to shut down the voting? And my response to that was, well, no. The voting is the one thing that this country, I don't care where you stand, everybody agrees that's the most important thing that runs this country's government, is the voting. I don't care where you're at, what you believe, where things go. There's almost a 0% of people that want no voting,
Right.
And so I just went, no, shutting down voting is not the option. And that's just, and so even in that, even in something where somebody has a very extreme point of view, I have a very opposite extreme point of view, but if you brush away all the details, the fact of the voting that's the most important part.
And both parties are probably, in their own mind, wanting what they feel is best for the community that they live in.
Absolutely. And everybody has their own point of view of what makes the world a better place. Mm-hmm. Even the people that agree on have all the same stances, still wouldn't necessarily agree on every point with every person. You know, I mean, none of us agree on everything, but none of us disagree on everything either.
Exactly. And we all have so many different values, wants, desires, connections,
Yep.
things that we receive in different ways, which
Yep.
is part of what makes it beautiful throughout our world, that we're all different, and it makes it interesting to have conversations with
Oh, of
each other,
course, yeah.
especially when there's a level of tolerance and patience and understanding and acceptance of another person's point of
Absolutely.
view.
Yep.
And when we learn to appreciate the similarities of what lies beneath our motivations and desires, then perhaps we can learn to appreciate each other for what brings us joy, for what brings us peace, for what brings us connection. Instead of feeling like others are so different, notice and recognize that we are looking for that same feeling within ourselves. We're looking for that same sensation, that sense of connection, that sense of purpose and of meaning. And I really think that 2020 really put a spotlight on this for a lot of people, especially that sense of connection, that sense of meaning, that sense of who am I in this vastness when I feel a bit alone within myself.
Once you've lost that connection, that ability to be close to people, I mean, that's when you realize what a big deal that is.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. I think we saw how much we in general in humanity and people globally, how much we crave the company of others. Extroverts probably felt it a bit sooner than the introverts did. Some of the extroverts in March were ready to be out with people, and some of the introverts through June may have still been quite happy and ready to just slowly ease into feeling connection with other people. And we've also, but we've come to really appreciate what life can be like without the companionship of others. We've seen the incredible creative, we've also seen the incredibly creative fill this need for creative ways to fill this connection need with camaraderie. We've seen a lot of things change in a beautiful way creatively in the landscape with online events, classes, video chatting, new hobbies that people have come up with, finding creative ways to stretch a budget when you're supporting a family on a shoestring budget. Maybe you've gone from being somebody who donated always to help others in need to somebody who now is grateful that you are thankfully receiving the support and having to go through all of the vast emotions that go with that switch.
Yeah, it means a lot more when you've been on the other side of that.
Yes, it can be very humbling. I think there were a lot of humbling experiences for many people this year.
Yeah.
There are so many different ways to look at that which we feel defines us, but really those things really just decorate the details that allow us to shine as individuals.
Nice.
I really believe that if we learn to see and recognize and feel the motive and the emotive undercurrent beneath the surface of actions, we will see how similar we are with others. Whether we live in the US, in Europe, Iraq, Afghanistan, Russia, Israel, Ghana, wherever we are within the world, all of us as individuals, as humanity, we're all seeking the same things at our core. The primary element of all of this being love. That is what expands into connection, which we see so much with sports. We see it so much with team activities where people are bringing themselves together and feeling that it's a safe way for men to express to other men that we're in this, and that sense of love that comes out.
Women do sports.
Well, absolutely, but I think women can more easily find acceptance in showing that love to others in our current society. I think it can be a bit harder sometimes for men to express that.
Absolutely.
And the but being able to feel that sense of love and express that to others, whether it's team activities or cliques or friendships or families, whether they're chosen families or bio families, we all want ourselves and our loved ones to be safe. We all want our lives to matter in some way, whether it's to those that are just closest to us that we care about, or if it's a larger reach that feels a passion within our hearts. We can all have these needs filled together when we love, and respect each other's differences and see the similarities that unite us. And one of the interesting facts that I know you like a lot.
I like facts.
Our DNA in humans differs by only about 0.1% between humans. Between chimpanzees and humans, it's about 1.2%. Domestic cats and tigers have a difference of only about 4.4%. So the things that decorate the outside of us, even in a very physical way, are so minor compared to all of the similarities that we have within us. And it's really important. I just encourage each of you to consider that as you're deciding what you want to do in 2021 and what your expectations are, not only for yourself in your own life, but what your expectations are that you want to share with others, and that sensation that you want to feel within yourself, recognizing and seeing that others want to feel that same sensation of hope, of love, of joy, of camaraderie. Anytime you're saying something negative about someone else or downing somebody else's perspective or opinion, you're tearing apart that fabric that brings us together. You're tearing down their ability to continue to feel that connection and that joy that we often used to have so much more. There used to be so much more tolerance. And my hope is that after going through 21 and feeling that separation that we all felt by being stuck in our homes and not having that sensation physically of being able to be so much around other people, that you can use that and take that to heart as you think about how you can continue and perpetuate that sense with everyone, whether it's talking to them online or once we are seeing people in person, recognizing those similarities of what we want, our similarities that are that undercurrent and that fabric of who we are: safety, security, connection, hope, joy, love, and share a bit more of that with everyone that you encounter out there this year. Thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate you here at Earth and Sky. Have a great week, everyone.